Hi, it's Joan Erickson from 3M back to share with you a little more how Bair Hugger blankets are designed. Some of this may be review from the first video, but I hope it will be helpful to go over and show how 3M Bair Hugger blankets differ from even other forced air warming blankets. After this module, my goal is that you will be able to determine the difference between convective warming blankets and conductive or passive warming blankets, describe and be able to articulate the technology in the 3M Bair Hugger blankets, and be able to provide information to your customers with regards to the good science around the Bair Hugger system. In review, convective warming is the transmission of heat from warm forced air direct to the patient by circulating warm air around the patient's body. In contrast, conductive warming is the transfer of heat to the body where there is direct surface-to-surface contact, most prominently at the body's natural pressure points. This image gives you an idea of the difference between convective warming and conductive warming. Convective warming delivers warm air direct to the patient's skin with no pressure points. Conductive blankets provide warmth at the direct contact with the patient's skin. Pressure points are contact points where the skin touches the conductive blanket and potentially could cause thermal injury. Note the difference in the heat exchange. Think of using a rice bag or a heating pad on yourself. If it sits in one spot long enough, you have to move it as it begins to become uncomfortable. Some examples of conductive warming include reusable air-warmed blankets that do not have perforations. One example of this would be the red Jorvet blanket. Heating pad systems, water mattresses, and rice bags. These systems predominantly warm at the pressure points, again, where the skin makes direct contact. These types of systems may and have caused serious thermal injury and even death. At previous conferences, I heard of horrible stories of injuries to clinicians' patients. Not only would this be difficult for a clinician to see happen to their patient, it could also harm their reputation and result in loss of business. "3M Bair Hugger therapy has been demonstrated to deliver a uniform temperature across the blanket, which is delivered to the skin surface through small air holes directly to the skin surface where convective heat transfer occurs. 3M Bair Hugger therapy has been used in more than 170 published studies and more than 60 randomized controlled clinical trials. Dozens of independent randomized clinical studies across a wide variety of surgical procedures have demonstrated Bair Hugger's efficacy in maintaining normothermia." Let's take a look at what makes Bair Hugger therapy unique. The answer is a balance of many design elements. For instance, airflow speed. A high enough airflow must be utilized to carry the thermal energy to the skin of the patient. Temperature set points. Too high of a temperature can result in thermal injuries. Bair Hugger therapy uses the warmest, safest temperature, which is a low nozzle temperature of 43 degrees Celsius. Temperature differences across the blanket. Temperatures across the blanket must be as uniform as possible to evenly warm the patient. Otherwise, you warm one part of the patient while cooling another. Surface area of warming. Forced air warming therapy is relatively inefficient in terms of transferring heat. To account for this, Bair Hugger blanket designs seek to recruit sufficient skin surface to gently warm the patient's skin surface. Perforation patterns. A convective warming system must have perforations and must be able to deliver the warm air to the surface of the patients. Otherwise, it is simply conductive. Several competitors use this approach and do so unsuccessfully. Air pressure. In the blanket, there must be adequate back pressure to ensure that the channels of the blanket remain open and that it is balanced with the warming unit that is providing warm therapy. All Bair Hugger blankets are compatible with all of our warming units. Air channel design. Blanket design must allow for air to move from where it enters the blanket to the far reaches of the blanket effectively. Bair hugger blankets use a central channel and manifold design, where others use mouse mazes and waffle stamps. Bair hugger blankets are specifically designed to provide constant, even heat across the entire blanket, utilize low resistance air directing channels and manifolds, deliver warm air through consistent, even perforations to deliver warmth directly to the patient's skin, and effectively warm at lower temperatures. One way Bair Hugger forced air warming blankets provide better performance is by tailoring solutions to individual needs. In other words, closely matching the right blanket to the right procedure. But even in head-to-head comparisons of similar forced air blanket designs, Bair Hugger therapy comes out on top. In 2009, results from an independent study comparing upper body forced air warming blankets found that Bair Hugger therapy transferred the most heat while distributing the heat more evenly across the blanket surface. Why? As the study itself concluded, blanket design is key. Bair Hugger therapy relies upon three components within a balanced system: the powerful Bair Hugger blower, a central channel and manifold system within the blanket itself that distributes heat across the body core, and even symmetrical perforation patterns. In other words, tiny outlets for warm air distributed across the blanket surface to the patient's skin. Since air also loses heat quickly, it must be channeled efficiently throughout the blanket for optimal heat transfer to the patient. As shown in this diagram, Bair Hugger therapy air channeling concentrates warm air over the body core and distributes it to the patient's periphery. In contrast, some Bair Hugger therapy competitors have no channeling whatsoever. The Bair Hugger system pioneered forced air warming in the 1980s and began by addressing the problem of cold surgical patients in the recovery room. This was a problem seen and felt by clinicians and patients everywhere and continues yet today. To meet the need, full-body warming blankets were developed and placed over the entire patient when they entered the recovery unit. But growing evidence of clinical importance of preventing hypothermia during surgery, not simply warming patients who were already cold, led the team to create blankets that could be used intraoperatively. The result? A mixture of blanket styles to fit the surgery type being performed. The Underbody series blankets broke with convention and are helping redefine the market. These advanced designs provide full patient access, positioning flexibility, and warm the patient from the start of the procedure. Because the patient lays directly on the surface of the blanket, the underbody blanket can be preset on the OR table, allowing the clinician to focus on the patient rather than having to remember to place a Bair Hugger blanket prior to draping. Moreover, because the blanket is already in place, the patient can be kept warm and comfortable while prepping. In today's economy, most everyone is cost conscious. It will be important for you to work with your customer to uncover the hidden costs that need to be included when comparing disposable against reusable blankets. Some of these added costs include reusable degradation. How long do they use their blanket before having to replace it, which is more expensive? And the chemicals to clean and labor to pay to clean the blanket. Some of the bacteria out there is very persistent and hard to kill. Is your customer confident they are killing all of the bacteria, or could they potentially cross-contaminate to the next patient? In the end, it may cost your customer more money for additional things such as antibiotics for infections, longer recovery times, extra blood loss, and higher mortality rates. These all are potential costs to your customer that cannot be recovered. Some examples I've heard from your customers of misuse of the Bair Hugger system include putting a warming unit hose between sheets, put the hose inside a pillowcase, making their own blankets from woven fabric, and purchasing reusable blankets. This may be a passive or conductive way of warming. These blankets can cause the safety system of the warming unit to fail, which may result in serious thermal injury. The warming unit has been designed to operate safely only with Bair Hugger blankets. At the end of this video, you will receive a website which covers this in depth. It will be helpful for you to provide the website with valuable information to your customer. In review, Bair Hugger blankets have been clinically studied and proven. There are over 170 studies that document the Bair Hugger system's clinical benefits, efficacy, and safety, is the most used and studied method of surgical warming in the U.S., are a one-time use, and convectively warms the patient. No risk of pressure points and thermal injury. These two websites are very important. The first one covers any current false accusations you may hear regarding the safety and validity of Bair Hugger and forced air warming systems. The second website covers the science behind forced air as well as the importance of not commingling or misusing the Bair Hugger system. Please contact me. I work with your 3M rep and would love to help you in regards to patient warming and the Bair Hugger system. Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you and working with you as you reach out to your customers.